This week I got to talk with Deluca about her newest psychological thriller, The Divorce Party, which really gave me like Big Little Lies in Vegas vibes. Savannah, Daisy, and Zoe haven't spoken in almost 20 years, since the night that changed everything. But when an unexpected invitation arrives from Evie, the ruthless queen bee of their college clique, they have no choice but to reunite in Las Vegas for her lavish divorce party. Savannah, now a glamorous Vegas dancer, has spent years running from a past that refuses to stay buried. Daisy, a burned-out substitute teacher drowning in debt, is desperate for a second shot at the excitement she missed. Zoe, a respected paediatrician, has built a life of perfection, but perfection comes at a cost, and the cracks are starting to show. As the drinks flow and old resentments resurface, it becomes clear that Evie's invitation isn't just about celebrating her freedom. And when the weekend takes a deadly turn, the friends must confront their past to survive the present. This is a messy girl group that you will just love trying to figure out. But for now, let's hear from Deluca. I am so excited to be back with Deluca, or Marjorie Deluca, to talk about her newest psychological thriller. So welcome back.
It's great to be back, Kate, with my new book.
It's so pretty.
I know. I thought I ought to wear pink, but I couldn't find anything.
So you brought your pink cover.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. Well, this one is a little bit different than your others. You mentioned that when you sent it to me as well. It really reminded me of like Big Little Lies, but in Vegas, kind of.
Yeah.
So was there anything different about writing this one?
Yeah. I'd spent the last few years writing very dark stories. And of course, the last one was The Night Side. And I was so kind of mired in the darkness. I thought, I have to get out of this. And so I always wanted to write something that had a kind of undercurrent of humor in it. I love Leanne Moriarty and just love her characters. And there's a darkness in them, but there's also humor. And I wanted to capture that because after all the sort of heavy stuff I've been writing, this was a real big change for me, and I so enjoyed it. It was so fun. And using 3 different narrators was also fun because skipping from one to the other and making sure they're different was great rather than being with one person the whole book.
Yeah.
So it was a great change. Yeah.
Yeah, I always wonder about that.
Back to the dark side.
You're like, I'm gonna write thriller romps now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you have, so like it sounds like obviously you kind of wanted to shift out of like the really darker themes. Was there anything else that like hit you as the inspiration for this story?
Yeah, well, my husband and I used to spend a lot of holidays in Las Vegas. And it's funny, we used to go in the summer, which is probably the hottest time to go to Vegas, but we really enjoyed it. And we would love the kind of life there, the pool life, the shows, the restaurants, just the whole air of kind of, it's sort of unreal. Where else can you get the Statue of Liberty, the Eiffel Tower, a Venetian palace, all in one place? I mean, it just blows your mind. And I thought, I've got to set something in Las Vegas because anything can happen there. You can let loose, have a good time, party hard, and as they say, what happens in Vegas stays there, but not in this story necessarily.
Yeah, not always.
Yeah.
That's interesting that it was your trip there because the setting almost is a character in this one. Like it is very important to the story. Were you like immediately like, I need to take some messy women and drop them in here together and see what happens?
Yeah, well, at first, the first thing that inspired me, I always had the image of the dead person at the beginning of the story. in the prologue, of course, somebody is found dead, but we don't know who it is. But
Mm-hmm.
I always knew that was the opening scene. And then it's a matter of finding out, okay, who's the dead person
Yeah.
and who killed this person and why. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I sort of like the idea of three college friends who haven't seen each other for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and obviously, there's something dark in their past that has kept them apart, a secret. They vowed never get back together again. And they don't
Mm-hmm.
really want to reunite, but they have
Mm-hmm.
to.
Yeah.
So I wanted all that. And then the divorce party idea just came during research.
Yeah.
Um, Vegas is famous for weddings and bachelorettes and bachelor parties, but divorce parties are huge there now. And it's so fun finding out what people do at them.
I know. You do. You see them on social media every now and then too, or like
Yes,
on like Housewives or something. They're all just like, "I'm free."
yes, yes. It's more
Yeah.
like they used to be kind of somber affairs where people were kind of crying over their drinks, but now it's like a celebration of the new me. I'm going to go out and have a fresh start, and this is my
Yes.
new beginning. So it's like, let's all let loose. And,
Yeah.
uh, you know, there's special invitations, special cocktails,
It's
and
everything.
playlists. I enjoyed that part, especially the games.
Yes. Yes. Um so the three women at the core of it, they have a past with each other. They've also
Mhm.
obviously gone on and had their own lives as well. So how did they kind of reveal themselves and their past to you as you wrote it, or did you kind of know going into it what they were all hiding?
Um, well, I knew that there was the one big secret that reunited them, but I wanted them to be uh, women who had come from a kind of impoverished background, and they'd kind of clawed their way into a very prestigious university. So they
Mm-hmm.
were pretty hard edged women. They came from single parent families, and that kind of unites them as friends. And each of them has like a bad habit from the past.
Yes.
And they've tried to reinvent themselves in their new lives. Um, and whether that's successful or not depends on which you're looking at. We've got
Yes.
Daisy, the burned out substitute teacher who's broke, with the loser husband who's trying to make it in the music business, and
Hmm.
Savannah, who is an ex science nerd, and now she's a Vegas dancer. I don't
Right.
know how that quite happened, but I was always fascinated when I was in Vegas at the dancers and the shows. It's just all glitzy and
Right.
you know, it seems like fun, but I think it's a pretty short life, as a
Right.
dancer. And then there's Zoe, who is a successful pediatrician living in Toronto and married to a much older man, but dissatisfied with her life. Um, but she's kind of, I guess, the most successful in
Hmm.
reinventing her life. But they can't leave the past behind, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of memorable what happened to them.
Yeah,
It's a little bit hard to forget.
yeah.
Did you have a favorite one? Like, did you find yourself enjoying like certain
Um,
chapters, or did you just kind of love them all?
a lot of people I talk to, Evie, we don't have any chapters from her point of view, but she's a very interesting character. She's the queen bee who
Yes.
has asked for everyone to come to her divorce party, and she's kind of tough but tragic. I
Yeah.
guess that's the one sort of darker side to the story.
Hmm.
Um, and a lot of people enjoyed Evie when I've talked to them. I
Hmm.
do like Daisy. I think she's always, she's the one that really wants to go to Vegas because she's broke.
Right.
Has missed out she feels she's missed out on all the fun in life, and she's determined to go, even if it means selling her husband's precious record collection and even selling the house. She's
Yes.
determined to go. So I did like Daisy because she's kind of ruthless,
Yeah.
just pretty, and yeah, I don't want to say any
Yeah.
more.
Right.
I
Yeah,
liked all of
she's
them really in some way.
mhm. Yeah, I remember Daisy's chapter like opening with the like something about like being out of money again because her husband was unemployed again.
Yeah,
I'm just like, poor Daisy.
yeah. And I was a teacher before I, decided to start writing full time.
Yeah.
So the scene at the beginning where Daisy walks out of her classroom in the middle of a lesson, I can say that that may have crossed my mind sometimes when I was standing in front of a group of, grade 11 or 12 students that were on their phones, and you're
Yeah.
like, I feel like I'm a comedian in front of a
Right.
hostile audience. I'm just going to leave. And
Yeah.
this is what she does. So that kind of drew on a bit of wish fulfillment on my
Right.
part.
You're living vicariously a little bit through
Yeah,
Daisy.
yeah.
You mentioned because like you kind of wanted to shift a little bit out of the darker stuff that there's like a balance of suspense and like humor and kind of like emotional drama as well in
Mhm.
this one. Did you did you kind of like focus on making that blend, or when you just started writing did the story kind of come out that way?
Yeah, I knew for sure I wanted some humor in it
Yeah.
because you can't be serious about what's going on in this story. You can't be totally serious, even though I
Yeah.
mean, there's murders and bad things
Right.
happening to people. But once I got into the voice of each character, they kind of spoke for me.
Mm.
And each one of them has, just like Leanne Moriarty does, it's kind of looking at real life and picking out the silly things that don't make sense, or taking a good look at your situation and having a kind of blunt opinion on it. I wanted their voices to kind of shine through, and I kind of found myself speaking in their voices as I went
Oh, that's cool.
through each one, and just you notice some of the absurdities in uh, in the world. Zoe, the financially successful person, goes to see a beautiful condo which she wants to buy, and when she looks at the promo material about this beautiful condo, which is on the shores of Lake Ontario, she makes fun of all the blurb because it's so out there. It's so, over the top.
Yes.
Uh, Urban countryside living in an urban setting, all this kind of stuff. And she
Yes.
she just thinks it's ridiculous, but she
Yeah.
wants it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It listings are like that for sure. That's like the other funny part. Yeah, like there's so many buzzwords.
yeah.
Um it really the friendship has a lot of rivalry, like, or their shared friendship has a lot of rivalry, and then there are also some pretty big betrayals as well. Was there some are Is there something that kind of draws you to those themes in books?
Well, I think that one of the themes of this book is that ask the question, can you really escape your past?
Mm-hmm.
If you've had a troubled past, can you really leave it behind? And that is kind of addressed at the beginning when I think Savannah is in the bar talking to the bartender, Leon, the
Mm-hmm.
handsome Leon. And
Yes.
he asks her, "You don't look very happy. Have you had a blast from the past or something like that?" She says, "Oh, an invitation." She tells him about the invitation to the divorce party. And she
Mm-hmm.
says, "I'm the kind of person that thinks the past should be left behind because if you try to rake it up, it stinks like dead leaves or something." And
Yes.
Leon, who hasn't had that kind of past, says, "Well, I think your past's important to you. It's like something to celebrate. It's part of your roots. And that kind of
Mm-hmm.
shows the difference between someone who's had a happy childhood and someone who's
Mm-hmm.
had a very difficult childhood. And I did want to explore that. And
Mm-hmm.
these girls, these young women, are survivors. They've had to
Mm-hmm.
basically claw for everything they got.
Mm-hmm.
And the past is not a happy place for them to look back to. So that is one of the
Yeah.
more, I guess, serious themes in the story.
Yeah, it kind of addresses like class issues as
Yes.
well. Because you just know what it's like to be desperate if you've really had like almost nothing.
Yes.
Uh compared to if life has been like relatively easy or you've had like a very wealthy life as well.
Yes.
um I feel like that desperation does do so well in thrillers,
Hmm.
probably for that reason. So or you, it sounds like you really were trying to kind of like cover that part too, that it's like when you have less, like how can you really judge some people's actions
Yeah.
when they're just trying to have something.
Yeah. They're really trying to get ahead or make a life for themselves, and they're afraid of losing it. I
Yeah.
think that's the fear among all of them. They don't want to lose what they've fought so hard to achieve. And
Hmm.
maybe in the early days, that meant doing not so legal things,
Right.
doing some morally gray things, but they were all of them united in their, struggle.
Yeah.
The wrestling thing that just came out of left field. The idea
Yeah.
of a wrestling club, I just,
Yeah.
I don't know, that just popped into my mind one day
It's a
that,
really scrappy thing too.
yeah. It's the idea that they were strong, tough, and athletic, and
Yeah.
they weren't going to be just the demure, you know, popular girls at university. They wanted to prove themselves.
Right.
So I thought the wrestling was a perfect kind of metaphor for that.
Right. No, yeah, it really is. Um so they, where was I going? It just like left my mind right when I looked up. Oh, accountability is like another thing. Like what are we all what do we all need to be held accountable for? Um and just like kind of how hard that is, but also how it also probably traps you if you're not being held accountable for things as well. So did that just kind of come about as you were writing the story as well?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the men in it
Mm.
are, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of almost like a revenge thing too. This
Mm-hmm.
story, you know, the the sort of wealthy, entitled people in it have not been held accountable for what they've
Mm-hmm.
done in the story. They've basically gone through life on a free ride and never had to sort of face the consequences. I mean, really, nobody's been held accountable
Right.
in this story. They've all got away with bad things,
Yeah.
and I guess the reckoning is coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But some people are better at avoiding it than others.
Right. Right.
Some
That's
people
a good way to say it without giving anything
wise,
away.
and some people don't.
Yeah.
Um, but the idea that they all come clean at some point about
Yeah.
terrible things that happened when they were at the university and since then, um, I think, you know, it was a time for these women to kind of be honest with each other about what really happened and what they were really doing, and maybe comes as a shock to each of them just
Mm-hmm.
what was actually going on.
Right.
But I
Yeah,
still
because
hold off for some final twists. I was like the last twists at the end.
the last couple of chapters are
You
crazy.
don't know.
Yes. You mentioned that you did do some research into, I mean, it sounds like you found out about divorce parties in general doing maybe some like Vegas research or something like that, and the games, was there, what were your like favorite parts that you found from research?
Well, I haven't tried out the cocktails yet, but there's a whole
Yeah.
list of cocktails. Like I think it's the Alimentini. What is it? I've got. They're in between each section.
Yeah.
Oh, the rum baby rum,
Yeah.
liar liar, pants on fire. All of those.
It's
Those are
so
fun. I'm gonna
good.
have to try some of them out. Um,
Yeah.
the playlists were fun. You know, we've
Hmm.
got the old standard "I Will Survive." It's like Gloria
Yes.
Gaynor and um, who wrote Divorce? Is that Tammy Wynette or
I
Dolly
think
Parton?
so.
I can't
I
remember. There's
can't
a whole
remember.
list. I think Taylor Swift has one. There's a whole
Yes.
list, and apparently, um, at these parties, the divorcee to be and her friends sort of belt them out at karaoke sessions, and
Yes.
everybody has a great time. The
Yeah.
games, I only picked a couple of them, kind of
Hmm.
raunchy side of it, but
Yeah.
they sure get their frustrations out in those games.
Yes.
I kind of, when I read that one, "Burn the Wedding Dress," I thought that was so funny, but I don't know how legal that is, especially in Vegas.
Right. I
Setting
know.
fire to a wedding dress. How would you do
In a
that?
desert.
Yeah, I guess you'd have to. Um,
Yeah.
but there's a massive industry behind it. I
I
never
yeah, I believe
realized.
it.
It's maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe it says that we're having too many divorces. Or like that.
But I who knows if it's better that some women feel like they can leave or if it's worse. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
the Chippendales thing, I thought they have to go and see the Chippendales. That's something you do.
yes. Yes.
And actually, years ago, I saw the Chippendales. I mean,
Oh
I'm talking
yeah.
a long time ago, and I
Yeah.
can just imagine in Vegas, it must be so funny. A lot of
Right.
older ladies letting loose, I'd say.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh, I don't know if you watch reality TV, but I'm always gonna think of the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives last
Oh,
year.
oh yeah.
Oh, there was such drama about, I think it was Chippendales or maybe it
Oh,
was Magic Mike, but it's the same thing essentially. But yeah,
and
they
it's the older
definitely,
seniors that get the more raunchy. I was reading
I
about it.
love that. I love
You
that.
know.
Oh, that's amazing. I love it for
Mm.
any age of of woman.
Well, what the hell? Why not?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What was, I just had one lined up. What was my next one? Um I don't know. I just totally lost my thought thinking about sexy men.
Yeah.
Um I'm so flustered.
Advertised as a fantastic abs. What is it? I think I've
Oh
read this
yeah.
book. The way it's described, the Chippendale review is so funny.
Yes. I know.
Fantastic abs or something like that. That's
Yeah. Yeah. Um, did you have like the ending, the way that the twist comes together? Did you have that ending in mind when you started, or did you mainly just know like what they were covering up?
um well, when you start with a prologue like mine, you're basically starting
That's
at the
true.
end of the book. So you
Mhm.
know where you're heading towards, you know that there's that
Mhm.
body. Um but it actually took quite a lot of planning and thinking to decide exactly how it would all go down.
Yeah.
And often, when you're doing a twisty kind of ending like that, it changes a few times.
That's
Uh,
what I wondered.
yeah, it does change a few times. But I did know who I wanted to be the mastermind.
Right.
So, but it
Yeah.
took a bit of maneuvering to get it to work.
Right. And that makes me, when you said that, so did you write the prologue first? Did you mostly
Yes.
write the book in the
That
order
was
that
the
it's in?
very first thing I wrote because I had
Okay.
that clear in my mind exactly
Yeah.
how that was.
Yeah, so you didn't need to like build their backstories first to like get going.
Uh, well, I always think about the characters first. I always do like a almost like a character Bible. Find a picture of
Mm-hmm.
somebody that I think looks like the character, and I write about them, what they do, and everything.
Yeah.
Um, but I knew I wanted to throw them into that situation where that dead body was
Mm-hmm.
in it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but what that forces you to do is it forces you to keep on the right path because you know what's
Right.
at the end.
Yeah.
You know you have to get them towards that place
Right.
where the body is found.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, I just keep forgetting my questions today. I don't know why. There was something else from what you said there. But my other one would be what I thought was kind of cool too is they do all grow by the end. I'm gonna keep it vague, but you don't always see character growth in kind of like a popcorn thriller, whatever we want to kind of call this
Mhm.
specific genre. And I really did like that. Was that something you were really trying to keep in mind too while you were writing it?
Yeah. I think people like again Leanne Moriarty, people like Lisa
Hmm.
Jewell, um,
Yeah.
people like Tanya French,
Mm,
have more character development. The
yeah.
story is more character driven, and I wanted it to be character driven because I think that that makes it a much more immersive story.
Hmm.
Um, I can't write just straight action. It's just
Yeah.
it's a bit too shallow for my
Yep.
liking. I have to get into the characters. So that's why the story is basically in three parts. There's the invitation, which that section of the book has the characters in their present lives, what
Hmm.
they're doing right now when they get the invitation. And most of them are living a pretty screwed up life. Like there's
Hmm.
problem, they have problems. They get
Yes.
this invitation, and that's part one. Part two is the arrival when they get
Hmm.
there, how they first meet each other, what's going on, um, and then there's the actual party when it all
Yeah.
starts unfolding. So you could say there's quite a bit of backstory
Hmm.
woven in, and this was quite a complex story to write because not only
Yeah.
do we have that, but we flip back sometimes to their university years, and that
Hmm.
a little bit of uh, shuffling around so it wasn't forced, so that it's
Yeah.
natural.
Yeah.
Uh,
That makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah, I
so
feel like when there's character development in thrillers, that's where it helps them not feel repetitive. Like it's what makes
yes,
the book its own thing.
yeah, yeah. Otherwise, there are only so many different plots that
Right.
you go with. But what makes it different is the players in the
Mhm.
story and their stories. And I love stories that have good character development. I just find
Yes.
them so much more satisfying. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, one of my favorite books, I guess, was Big Little Lies is Leanne Moriarty, isn't it? I just love
Yes.
books.
Yeah.
And Lisa Jewell is the same. I think hers have much
Mhm.
better, deep character development,
I agree.
and just makes it a better read.
Yeah. It really connects you to the story in a different way cuz you
Yeah,
just understand where everyone is coming from.
yeah, yeah.
Which is like that whole thing too when you feel empathetic for multiple povs. I think why that is so fun in thrillers is you're
Mhm.
like, whose side am I on, like
Yeah,
who do I want to like quote
yeah,
unquote win at the end.
yeah. Yeah, I really wanted to write the multiple POV one because I'd written quite a few from single points of view. And unless you
Yeah.
love the character, you're like, God, I want to get shot of this person. I'm sick of them.
Right.
Luckily, that hasn't happened, but it is difficult to stay with the one person all the time. So
Yeah.
now I'm not sure. I think I'm spoiled now with the multiple point of view thing. I'm going to have to
Yeah.
keep going with that because I liked it so much.
Yeah. Well, that was gonna be my next question. Are you working on something else, and is it as Is it less dark than your previous ones as well?
Well, always have several projects on the go. I have
Oh, nice.
one that's darker, but I'm not sure whether I'm gonna. It's sort of a serial killer one. But
Ooh.
then, yeah, but then I have another one that I had thought of that I wanted it to be in Mexico, but around the
Yeah.
weekend of Day of the Dead,
Uh-huh.
which would be a multiple point of view story
Ooh.
about some people coming to a villa in Mexico. I don't know where it's going to be, Los Cabos or something like that,
Yeah.
for a wedding anniversary. So I've been thinking
Ooh.
of that one.
I like how you're going from the divorce party to like
Yeah,
the
I thought
wedding
that's another
anniversary.
good celebration. Yeah.
That sounds fun though. Like I'm excited to read some more multi POVs from you because it is fun
Well,
just kind of
Lucy
settling
Foley
in with
does it very well
characters.
too, with the
Yes.
Midnight Feast, and I
I
think
still need to read that one. I've read her others, but I haven't read that one yet.
the Paris Apartment I liked very
That was
much.
good too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of books you liked, have you read any other than what you just recently mentioned? Have you read any books recently that you really loved?
Any recent books that I really loved?
Hmm.
We Used to Live Here by, is it Marcus Cleaver?
Oh my gosh, I am so obsessed with that book.
I
I
love
read it
that
in
book.
November and I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah, and that made me think, wow, horror stories. And actually, the serial killer book that I had started writing and I'm in the
Uh-huh.
middle of, um, the main character is a writer of horror stories.
Ooh.
Because I've often sort of thought horror would be a good thing to write.
Yeah.
It's
I I really, really, really enjoyed that one. And it kind of it helped me learn about myself that like psychological and social horror is kind of like what I
yeah,
enjoy the most with horror.
yeah. That one I couldn't stop reading. It was amazing. I
So
also
good.
had Mexican Gothic,
Ooh, yeah.
which
That
that's
one's
wild.
really good. That one is very wild. If
Yeah.
you enjoyed that one, I read recently The Manor of Dreams by
Oh,
Christina Lee, and
okay.
it was compared to Mexican Gothic as well. It's also, to me, it was a little bit like No Road Home by John Fram. I don't know if you know that one, but
Okay, no.
uh, I really
Mhm,
loved The Manor of Dreams too. Horror can
mhm.
be horror is fun. I seem to not be able to handle body horror very well, but like other stuff works for me.
Yeah, I like the We Used to Live Here. I like that kind
Mm,
of horror where it's
yeah.
almost the unseen is more
Yes.
frightening than a lot of gore and monstery
Yes.
kinds of things. I love that where the horror is just kind of out of sight, just at
Mm,
the kind of periphery of your vision. It's like you're not
yeah.
sure if it's there or not. That's the kind of thing I like. And
Yeah.
actually, one of the best books I read, it's more a literary horror, was Sarah
Mm,
Waters' The Little Stranger.
okay. I need to read
That's
that one.
brilliant literary horror story. Sarah Waters is one of my heroes in terms of writing. She's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's one of the most frightening stories I've read.
Wow.
It's been made into a movie,
Oh, that's exciting.
but it's amazing, yeah. And actually,
Yeah.
one of my earlier books, The Savage Instinct,
Hmm.
which is a very dark and it's not a horror story, but it's kind of
Right.
is was inspired a little by Sarah Waters' writing.
Oh yeah. Was
Hmm.
her did we talk about is she Fingersmith as well?
Yes, Fingersmith.
Yeah, I feel like we might have talked about her
Yeah,
last time too.
yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
Well, obviously I loved the book. People need to go. It's so perfect for summer too. I'm assuming
Well,
that's
that's
part of
it.
why it got the July release too.
Yeah, yeah. It is. It's I'd never written. I guess it's a beach. They call it a beach read. But
Yeah. Mhm.
is it? I wanted it to be something that people could, yeah, sit down at a pool or on a beach and read it.
Yeah,
And the cover, I just loved the color of it. I thought this is
I do
perfect,
too.
and it just stands out. So, yeah, I
Yes.
really, really liked it. So,
Yeah.
I'll have to
Well,
go
it
get this
is,
again.
yeah, it is available now. So everybody can go get their copies or audiobooks or
Yeah.
whichever version. Where can people follow you to stay up to date with everything?
I'm on Instagram most of the time, and I have a
Mhm.
website, marjoriedeluca.com,
Yeah.
and you can sign up for my newsletter. But mostly I use Instagram
Yeah.
and Threads, I guess. Threads has
Hmm.
a great book community, it
It
seems.
really does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was completely off X or whatever it is now. And then I was like, oh, Threads is actually pretty nice.
Yes, it has so many book reviewers and people,
Yeah.
asking, show us your book cover, we'll promote it. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I will put all those links in the show notes for everyone. And otherwise, thanks so much for talking with me about the
Yeah,
divorce
it's been
party.
great as usual.
Yes.